Social Exchange Theory by Hannah Combs and Tavie Morrill. The basics of the exchange theory. The exchange theory assumes that individuals are rational in weighing out the pros and cons of the exchanges they make, rather than operating in a subconscious way. Or in other words, people consider the outcome of their social interactions instead of just walking around and figuring everything's just going to go the way it does. What is considered a reward? A reward is anything that is beneficial to you. Or in other words, it is what you will get out of an interaction with someone. It can be a materialistic item or non-material. What is considered a cost? A cost is anything that you will have to give. There are two types, punishment and lack of reward. A cost is typically what makes a person stop and consider what they're going to do. What is considered a profit? It is the ratio of the cost to reward for any decision. It would be like weighing the pros and the cons. Typically, people would want their pros to be higher than their cons. That is the route they would take. The formula for the social exchange theory is the reward minus the cost equals the outcome. Typically, in a normal situation, an individual will commit if it is a profitable exchange for them. So their reward would be higher than their cost. And they would not commit if it's unprofitable. So they'd have to give more than they get.
Gotten a perm before?
Yes.
How many would you say?
2 a year since I was 12. You do the math.
You know, a girl in my sorority, Tracy Marcinko, got a perm once. We all tried to talk her out of it. Curls weren't a good look for her. She didn't have your bone structure. But thankfully, that same day, she entered the Beta Delta Pi wet t-shirt contest where she was completely hosed down from head to toe.
Objection. Why is this relevant?
Oh, I have a point, I promise.
Then make it.
Yes. Chutney, why is it that Tracy Marcinko's curls were ruined when she got hosed down?
Because they got wet?
Exactly. Because isn't it the first cardinal rule of perm maintenance that you're forbidden to wet your hair for at least 24 hours after getting a perm at the risk of deactivating the ammonium thioglycolate?
Yes.
And wouldn't somebody who's had, say, 30 perms before in their life be well aware of this rule? And if, in fact, you weren't washing your hair, as I suspect you weren't because your curls are still intact, wouldn't you have heard the gunshot? And if, in fact, you had heard the gunshot, Brooke Wyndham wouldn't have had time to hide the gun before you got downstairs, which would mean that you would have had to have found Mrs. Wyndham with a gun in her hand to make your story plausible.
So as you can see, this goes along with the basic assumption of this theory because we assume that all humans are rational beings. A lot of people doubted that she would be able to cover this case, but she knew the limits of her information or her knowledge. She knew that she was capable to do it, and she predicted that she could defend the defendant, and she was able to.
Let me just get this straight. I take you to see the lanterns, bring you back home, and you'll give me back my satchel?
I promise. And when I promise something, I never, ever break that promise. Ever.
All right, listen, I didn't want to have to do this, but you leave me no choice. Here comes the smolder. This is kind of an off day for me. This doesn't normally happen. Fine, I'll take you to see the lanterns.
Really?
So as you can see, along with this basic assumption that social behavior will not be repeated unless it has been rewarded in the past, He's tried the smolder on other people. He said today was an off day because she didn't respond to it, so other days he must have had better luck with his smolder face. And he continued to repeat it. In this unique example, the cost and reward for the two were flipped, but both Rapunzel and Flynn wanted the reward more than what it would cost them, so the outcome was that they both committed.
Having lunch with the plastics was like leaving the actual world and entering Girl World. And Girl World had a lot of rules.
You can't wear a tank top 2 days in a row, and you can only wear your hair in a ponytail once a week. So I guess you picked today. Oh, and we only wear jeans or track pants on Fridays. Now, if you break any of these rules, you can't sit with us at lunch. Well, I mean, not just you, like, any of us. Okay, like, if I was wearing jeans today, I would be sitting over there with the art freaks.
The basic assumption that if no profitable alternative is perceived as available, and she looked over to the art freaks, the quote-unquote art freaks, and did not want to sit with them, then that person will choose the more profitable outcome, even if it's not something they necessarily want to do. So she chooses to dress accordingly so she can sit with the plastics at lunch.
Jane, dear, I can't help feeling that you should stay.
Daddy, please don't. We've been through all of this. I couldn't possibly. I belong in England and with you, with people. When
But you love him. Go on.
This goes along with the basic assumption that when they feel they deserved, when they receive what they feel they deserve, they feel satisfied. So she's considering the alternatives and she's considering the costs, and she goes with Tarzan because to her that's a greater reward. Thanks so much.